boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right, we're talking about Body Double on It's Gonna Be Brian De Palma on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations tonight. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton coming to you once again from the beautiful Hollywood Hills. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we are dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And of course, we are going to unpack all the gory details of Brian De Palma's Body Double in the hopes that a wannabe actor's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we can make at his expense. Actually, he doesn't die, despite the fact that I'm desperate for him to. Of course, there's only one person I trust to set me up in a beautiful house that has an aquarium, but you're not supposed to have sex with those fish. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just standing here, frozen in terror with my mouth hanging open like a fucking idiot.
Like an absolute Dorkosaurus, just going. Now listen, I am full of various phobias. I personally truly detest enclosed spaces, even the representation of those enclosed spaces in movies for the most part. I will instantly, and not to be too indelicate, but my butt puckers immediately upon the idea of that situation. And while Body Double gives me many, many feelings, that is not amongst them.
Well, what about if you're dressed like a Billy Idol vampire?
Yeah, the Billy Idol vampire thing in particular is quite a fucking choice. But he has an entire exposed side right next to him, and he's looking out at it at a camera. I'm just going to come right out and say this, and I don't think this is a controversial fucking subject. But as far as actors go, Jake Scully, not even Craig Wasson. We'll unpack Craig Wasson soon. Jake Scully is a shitty actor, Gina.
He's a shitty actor. He is wildly miscast in every movie we see him in.
Every movie. Every single movie.
Like he appears to be doing like softcore porn / horror.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is your guy, huh? This is the all of Hollyweird. This is the guy you got for this part.
He just really is a failure across the board.
In every way.
In every way. And if there is one thing that people in this town that I call Hollyweird, because I'm a real goofus and I don't want to be hired anymore, apparently, is that people smell fear. They don't like it. Everyone is afraid on some level of losing their job. If you are an actor, you're afraid of fucking something up. If you're a writer, you're afraid of getting fired immediately, no matter how well you do your job. If you're a director, you're afraid that you're making the wrong decision constantly. If you're a producer, you're losing money. If you're a studio exec, despite the fact that you can fail upwards to the point in which you will essentially drive a legacy studio into the ground, apparently you are fearless at that point, but you're also pig fucking stupid. But fear is just everywhere, and no one likes to be around it. And Jake Scully is full of it on every single level. And I don't believe that he would be cast to shovel pig shit.
No, this is obviously a significant problem he has, is this claustrophobia that he is evidently not addressed.
Well, and I don't think the place to do it is an acting class. I'm going to come right out and say it.
Yeah, he's trying to take some method acting and ends up having a nervous breakdown in the middle of it.
To the point where a would-be murderer is just stroking an invisible beard they do not have. Like, oh, this is perfect. I cannot wait to put this guy in a position to let me get away with murder.
I have found my dupe. Has he ever?
Yeah, jackpot. Ding, 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 ding. 777. You found your dupe. He is so stupid and so fearful and so dumb. I just have to read this one thing from Roger Ebert's newspaper review of Brian De Palma's Body Double. He wrote that the film was, quote, an exhilarating exercise in pure filmmaking, a thriller in the Hitchcock tradition, in which there's no particular point except that the hero is flawed, weak, and in terrible danger, and we identify with him completely. And you know what? Right up until that last statement, I agree.
Yeah, it's like, you're pretty much watching this movie and being like, you absolute moron, you complete dunce.
Yes.
I honestly cannot believe that the entire mystery of this movie hinges upon him being able to recognize one woman's butt from another woman.
He's got that thing where, like, I never forget a face, but his is I never forget a butt.
It's like, hey, that gyrating butt looks familiar.
I can see from all the way across a gulch that person has a tattoo on their butt. And therefore, I know who they are. That's so fucking crazy. And again, I'm not coming to Body Double for realism. That is not the assignment I've given this film.
Let me just preface everything I say for the next hour and a half or so,
sure. Mm-hmm.
that it is all said with love, because I genuinely love this movie. It is delicious, delightful, and very intentional trash.
Yes.
And I just love it so much.
The main goal of it is absolutely to deliver a trashy experience. And, we obviously have not given a full volume of Brian De Palma's work. We've selected certain films to talk about this particular May. That being said, you can sort of track how De Palma obviously has a lot of things that he likes to work through on film. Spying on people is one of them. Conspiracy theories. He enjoys the Hitchcock model. He believes in a cinematic experience where you're pushed through and storytelling in a way that does not rely on dialogue so much as a pure visual experience. And then you pick up things along the way. This is all great and fine and dandy, but there's also an arc where he's been doing this for so long and certain films are hits, other films are not. I think he's particularly burned by the lack of success when it comes to Blowout.
And Scarface would have been the turning point.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Scarface is it's not like it was his idea. Like, he was approached to do Scarface. So it wasn't like something he had always wanted to tackle. He just, once he found it, he goes, okay, I want to make it different from the original. And I really want to focus on this being a Cuban immigrant's story so much that I will not cast a Cuban person in the entirety of the lead roles.
Not one single Cuban playing these Cuban characters.
How could you find them in Miami, Gina? It's not like it's swimming in Cubans in Miami, Florida. So whatever, I'm not going to litigate it, but his goal was to make a grisly, harrowing experience. And I'm not going to, blame all the racism on him because it was written by Oliver Stone. And he's a perfect person to blame racism.
I was going to say by noted racist Oliver Stone.
Who just has a very distinct idea of what brown people are, and it's not good. And I'm not saying this. Look at the man's filmography and tell me something different. So he just inherits what is already a heightened experience and tries to take it to the absolute extreme. And the MPAA is like, absolutely not. You have gone way too far. This is too much. And he's so sick of hearing these complaints on top of well, I did it as classy and as dramatically wrought as I possibly could in Blowout. You didn't want it. So I gave you the height of criminal sleaze and you rejected me again and told me a menace to society. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a Hitchcockian thriller like you want me to, only I'm going to make it as sleazy as possible. In fact, I would like to make pornography. And Columbia Pictures was like, Please no. We're trying to be bought by Coca-Cola right now. Please do not do this. As a result, like I think he would make a terrible pornography director, if I'm being honest with you. That's not what he's great at. He's great at cinematic language. He's great at transporting you through the camera's eye. And as the result, it's a janky experience, but it is an absolute experience. He is trying to make a film film.
Yeah, well, I think the reason why he wouldn't be good at pornography is because he's also a big fan of symbolism. Mm-hmm. And people don't, people just, want, what you see is what you get in porn. Right. Like you've got, of course, in Dressed to Kill, you have the unfaithful wife getting, horrifically killed, basically suggesting that she hadn't done that, this wouldn't have happened. Right, if she hadn't just gone off with this dude to his apartment, she wouldn't have gotten slashed to ribbons in an elevator. Right. And then you've got Raising Cain, where another unfaithful wife has recurring dreams about being in a car accident that results in her being impaled on a long sword. He's not a subtle director.
No,
Brian De Palma. I mean, here you've got I realize that the gold standard for murder by dick metaphor is Driller Killer or Sorority House Massacre, but this was actually the first one I recall seeing, where a woman is essentially killed with a drill that is held at crotch level.
Yes, you see it from the back descending between a man's legs, very clearly defining it as a dick metaphor. Again, he's doing it on purpose. It's not like he woke up one morning and thought, this just seems like a good idea to me.
This is all part of an extremely elaborate murder plot.
The most elaborate murder plot ever on the face of the planet.
The only one I've seen that the most elaborate that involves only one other person plus the victim.
Right. It's a long way to go to find a witness for your murder who will, point at somebody else. But it all depends on the fact that he won't call the police and won't do anything to stop the murder. That is a very specific type of person you're attempting to recruit for this very unlikely job.
It also depends on I pegged you for a pervert. You'll watch this night after night after night. If I tell you exactly what time this sexy neighbor will come out and do a little dance and rub one out, you'll keep coming back, won't you, you little creep? I'm on to you. I've known you for 2 hours.
I just have you pegged. And the thing is, everyone else in town also seems to have him pegged as that.
Oh yeah, he's just a creepy little guy
with his weird hair and his constant khaki wearing. It's just something about him just yells. He'll watch somebody get murdered through a window. Just watch him, and we do for 2 hours. So, Gina, before we go any further into our elaborate murder plot of talking about Body Double, can you tell the audience where and when was the first time you watched it?
Oh, certainly the same place everybody our age watched it, on cable.
Right.
Which it was on a lot.
Now, did you see the edited version or the unedited version?
Oh, I don't remember. What was the difference?
A complete lack of nudity as opposed to all the nudity.
No, I think this one on nudity.
So a premium cable experience.
Oh yeah.
And I first saw it on VHS. I did not rent it. I was not allowed to rent it.
I was going to say that's not flying to Mrs. Hamilton's house.
No. I saw it at an older friend's house. He had come back from his mission, and I don't know whether or not it had gone as unsuccessfully as it did mine. But he came back and he immediately rented every movie he had missed. And one of the films he was absolutely dying to see was Body Double. And so in 1985, 86, I saw it on VHS and was scandalized by the experience.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I mentioned many times before that I was, not really watched over by my parents and probably watched a lot of stuff that I probably had no business watching at a young age. But this is certainly one of the first ones that I remember thinking that, I'm doing something wrong by watching this. This feels very grown up.
You were wrong to watch it then. We're wrong to talk about it now. It is really designed to be a real sleazy experience. That's not something that's a byproduct. It is one of the main goals of the film is to explore an area, a line in the sand in Hollywood,
right,
between this is real movie making and this is pervy, low rent.
Yeah, I
porn.
mean, a lot of filmmakers have dipped into the, turning the camera on the audience and, the whole, oh, you like to watch, do you? Well, watch this. And,
Right.
but this one feels like particularly like really rubs the audience's nose in it.
Yeah, just a skosh. As opposed to Dress to Kill, where in my mind, the observation, the stakeout elements of the film obviously reach a point where you're watching someone watching something else for clues. In Blowout, you're watching someone listen for clues. And this is, I'm just going to give you everything and see if you pick up the clues.
And also, I'm going to give you everything, and it's up to you to decide whether this is even happening or not.
Right. Because there are sequences that really do not feel like they are happening. I can't think of any other motion picture in which a music video breaks out in the middle of it, and it is not a fantasy sequence. It is something that is genuinely happening and seems to not affect anyone's lives.
Yeah, nobody seems puzzled by this or anything. You get a little behind the scenes because you can see the film crew. It's all, I mean, it's to use a word that did not exist, at least with this definition at the time. It's a weirdly meta scene.
Yes.
Just like, like the end of the movie ends with the bringing on of a body double. And you've got the different fonts changing and you've got like I stand firm in my belief that after he helps Deborah Shelton get her purse back, although he has another panic attack because again he's a fucking moron. He's trying to get laid more than he's trying to help her. This is after he steals a pair of her underpants and forgets that he has them. Because
you do, Gina.
he's a complete dunce. Like she's all of a sudden like, I have to kiss you, and I stand firm that he is imagining that because it is such a bizarre out of pocket moment.
Yeah.
That this woman who is being abused by and stalked by her husband, who, spoiler, will later murder her, I believe later that same day, yes. Decides to thank the guy who helps her get her purse back from a purse snatcher, who is also her husband in disguise, that she will thank him by passionately kissing him like it's their wedding night.
Yeah, they are about to have sex in Long Beach.
And then she's like, oh, no, I can't, and runs away.
I can't do it. Not in Long Beach, for Christ's sake.
Not in this tunnel that's leading, that's probably has like several homeless people sleeping in it.
Did you know there's a tunnel that runs underneath Ocean Boulevard, Gina?
I did not.
It's not just a song. It's that tunnel. Actually, it's not that tunnel. That's a different tunnel, but it's a similar tunnel to that other tunnel that was closed. So Lana Del Rey got it right. Why no one has made the music video for that song a long super edit of body double, I can't begin to tell you, because there we go. There's the tunnel that runs underneath Ocean Boulevard.
But yeah,
should I get the location nerdiness out of the way?
You're dying to, and I want to hear it, and people are going to want to hear about that house.
All right, here we go. Let's go down into location porn. So first off, we're gonna start with the tale of the pup. This is after Jake has left. He doesn't know he's been fired, but he's been fired from the vampire movie he's on, and he decides to go to Tale of the Pup and order the greasiest fucking meal he can possibly imagine, which he's going to appear on camera, to the best of his knowledge, with his shirt off, and he's ordering like this is beyond me. But it was the early 80s, and he was in shape enough to be topless on camera.
He'll do.
Now, the Tale of the Pup has an interesting history. Itself is a facade. We'll come back to that word later. The actual structure is a box, and there's a hot dog and bun built around it. But if you look at it from the front, it looks like a hot dog. But if you look at it from the side, it really does look like a wiener being shoved into buns, if you know what I mean. And I think you do. That is intentional, is not an accident. It is vulgarity for a reason. Because Hollywood people are weird and prurient, and we find that shit funny. The Tale of the Pup still stands. I don't think it's at its original location, but it still stands. Jeff's apartment is a Spanish-style duplex. Actually, it's his girlfriend's place. And I went to a million parties at places exactly like that. I can't tell you where the specific one is, but it looks like it's south of the Miracle Mile, if that means anything to you. Jeff later heads to Barney's Beanery, which has gone from hip to passe to hip to passe so many times, it's like a broken fucking clock. Right now, Barney's Beanery, at the time of this recording, is one of the coolest places to be seen in Los Angeles. Something, if I was told that in the early 2000s, I would have laughed in your fucking face. This place is for losers. That's why I'm here. And then Jeff's bartender pal, who puts him up for the night, is at the Hollywood Tower Apartments, which is now owned by Scientology. I'm not going to say church. It's not. Let's all dispense with that buffoonery right now. The facade, wink, is the inspiration for Walt Disney World, the Walt Disney World version of the Tower of Terror. It's a near match, is actually in Long Beach. And you can see it in the background on the beach scenes. It is used all the time as a replacement for the Hollywood Tower Apartments because people don't want to pay Scientology to do shit. The Hollywood Tower Apartments is right next to the 101, just above Hollywood Boulevard. And of course, later during this beach rendezvous, it's fucking Long Beach, baby. How do I know that? Beach motels in the LBC? Well, there's cargo ships on the ocean. That's how you can tell you're in Long Beach, because Long Beach is the main way that ships arrive for the LA City Port and the Long Beach City Port. So our beach vistas are replete with oil derricks and cargo ships. And then those churning reservoir channels at the end, they're nowhere near the Hollywood Hills. They're actually all the way out in Calabasas and Canyon Country. Calabasas is now supposedly where rich people go to escape Los Angeles. I don't know why anyone would live out there. They must have great fucking air conditioning, but it's not for me. Calabasas used to be where people from Malibu would go and hide from the cops. So that is location porn for this very Hollywood set motion picture. What should we talk about next, Gina?
There's so much.
There is. I don't want to be the deciding factor of where we always go with Body Double, because I know you have a lot to say about it. So, I want to give you the floor.
So, like, Jake's having a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
He is cuckolded
Mm-hmm.
by his girlfriend, who's a very young Barbara Crampton.
A very dubbed Barbara Crampton for reasons I can't begin to tell you.
Yeah, he does not seem to be alarmed when he walks into their home by the fact that she is laughing and occasionally moaning.
Apparently, this is what she does when she sews. I don't know.
He's just like, I'm gonna go surprise her. Be quiet, puppy. Don't announce my arrival.
I just want to walk into this room silently, see that she is having genuine pleasure while having sex. Something I'm guessing Jake doesn't give her often or ever.
Yeah, for this enormous fucking house where it's like, is she like the president of Universal Studios? It takes the way
those duplexes are. There's 4 apartments. There's 2 on the bottom. There's 2 on top, and they're railroad apartments. So
it feels like it takes about 10 minutes to get from the front door to his bedroom.
It is, but it also is because he's creeping like a weirdo.
Because he's trying to surprise her while she's laughing and moaning.
Do you think Jake shows up and it's ever a happy surprise?
It's like, oh, you came back.
Oh, fuck. You weren't killed by a bus. You weren't electrified by a grip. I was kind of hoping that would happen.
So, he leaves there. He goes to his acting class. And again has another breakdown because he's not really all that. Well, I don't know if anybody's emotionally suited to be an actor, but he's taking method acting classes.
Yeah,
which I think it's hilarious that he is basically mostly acting in low budget softcore porn and horror, and on the side he's taking his method acting classes. And
he really needs to feel what it's like to be an immortal being who bites a woman's neck in the shower.
He really needs to get inside the skin of a Billy Idol vampire. Yeah. I mean, he's dead dressed like Billy Idol in the Dancing with Myself video. He's got these
crazy,
like it's the tube vest and all,
and the hair. Like they have absolutely styled him as such. And I don't know that I had ever considered Billy Idol like the best looking man on the planet, but he's the only person who can really pull that off.
He would be more believable as a punk rock vampire than Jake is.
Yes, because if we haven't mentioned this before, actually we mentioned in the last episode that you'll hear, Jake is played by Kill All-Star, and I say that very derisively, by Craig fucking Wasson.
Yo, yeah, we've been burying the lead on that. Yeah, this like pile of mashed potatoes sculpted into a man, is like the go-to guy for these softcore horror movies.
Yeah.
Also manages to pull at various times Barbara Crampton, Melanie Griffith, and Deborah Shelton to a certain extent. If you believe that they're kissing each other actually happens. Like I said, I am of the mindset it did not, but right. I think that either interpretation could be correct.
I don't know how Gap display table given sentience Craig Wasson is able to pull these kinds of checks, or at one point we're given the idea that he has brought Melanie Griffith's porn star to orgasm on a porn shoot, something I do not believe.
And she just laughs like, that's never happened before.
Well, this is odd. Did you drive here and Herbie the love bug? That's the next thing that should come out of her fucking mouth, because it's so goddamn improbable that Craig, the wallpaper has arrived. Wasson is so good at the sex trademark that he's able to bring this porn star to an orgasm in front of motion picture cameras. And, Frankie Does Hollywood is outside smoking a cigarette while it's happening. I am not making that up. The setup for this scene in which they have sex on camera is just a Frankie Goes to Hollywood music video with 60 extras.
It's a video for Relax, which was their big hit.
Their absolute biggest hit, an undeniable hit. If you are interested in learning more about Frankie Goes to Hollywood, I will not try to recount their history, but I would urge everyone to check out the Todd and the Shadows one-hit wonder about Frankie Goes to Hollywood. It's very informative and name checks the sequence, although they refer to it as he refers to it as a fantasy sequence. This is not, I mean, the entire movie is a fantasy sequence.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I think it's really up to the viewer's interpretation how much any of this is actually happening.
Do you think, and I hate to be Jason Mantzoukas here because there really can only be one, but could all of this be happening in his head while he's having a freak out inside the coffin on the movie set?
I mean, I certainly think that the ending kind of suggests that this was all in his head, and that, you know, but also Melody Griffith is there. So I don't know if, they were together the whole time or, you know, I think it's any answer you give on that could be the right answer. About the Frankie Goes to Hollywood thing, just to you know, set this at a certain, you know, a different place and time. Did you have a Frankie Says Relax t-shirt, Patrick?
Not only did I have one, I made it. I had a class in which was screen printing. And so one of our first assignments was to make a black and white screen print. Well, that seems very easy because I've seen the Frankie Goes to Hollywood screen print out there. This was even, I think, concurrent to Wham's shirts of the same designation.
Yes. That was Choose Life, I believe. Choose
Life. I did not want to choose life. I wanted to be told to relax when I want to suck it to it.
Did you know that song was about delaying orgasm while having sex with another man?
Listen, I don't know what exactly I knew. I definitely knew it was about sex, but I would also retort that it is perfectly decent advice, even if you happen to have the misfortune of being heterosexual.
That's true. That's true. But I think this was one of those, you know, songs from the 80s where, like, you know, you have adolescent, you know, children singing along to it blissfully unaware, and their parents also blissfully unaware of, you know, when you want to come, that means when you want to come over, right? Because you talk about you're going to come over and hang out. Yeah, that's exactly what it means. Exactly. You know, I had a knockoff Frankie Goes to Hollywood shirt, or Frankie Says Relax shirt from Wildwood, New Jersey.
No, the perfect place to get one. Yeah.
You know, right up there with your Jamaican Bart Simpson shirts.
You know it's good when Jamaican Bart Simpson wearing a red t-shirt is festooned upon your outerwear.
Don't have a cow, man.
Wherefore art thou, Jamaican Bart Simpson, only to be replaced by a peeing Calvin on your various Chevy logos of Ford,
or a mashup of Stewie Griffith and Scarface.
Yeah, when we go to the water park end of Wisconsin, all those t-shirt shops are all there, and it's always interesting to see what the flavor of the month is when you arrive there, because there's often there's a shift in the miasma, the popular culture, and they really want to capture it. The last time we were there, I believe the t-shirt du jour was I love hot moms. And who doesn't? Hot moms deserve love just like anyone else.
I mean, I grew up in the Atlantic City area, so they have a special quality of lowbrow t-shirts. Like I'm just going to say the Happy Fisherman. Those of you who know. Those of you who don't, just Google it. I'm not going to describe it. I lost my ass in Atlantic City with a picture of a donkey. The false bikini girl or like shirtless lifeguard front t-shirt. Oh, and of course my personal favorite, FBI, Federal Boob Inspector.
They're all classic fashion.
Taking it back to Craig Wasson. If he was walking around wearing a t-shirt that said FBI, Federal Boob Inspector on it, he could not be less appealing than he is in his little corduroy jacket in Los Angeles.
Oh my God.
It's I spent one day in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
No, 2 days. I'm sorry. Because we went to Disney. We went to Disneyland.
Technically that's Orange County. That's not even Los Angeles.
Well, the Los Angeles area. We did drive through Hollywood and all. And it was in October. So, it was, the weather was pretty temperate, but I just, my vision of Southern California, it is hot all the time.
That's not necessarily true. Actually, October is generally one of those times where it's hot right up until the second week of October. And then the temperature starts to drop and you think, oh, okay, we might be approaching fall. Summer might finally be over. And then it hits Halloween, the time you've decided to have a costume where you wear multiple layers of flannel and a giant, robe, a terry cloth robe. And you're going to be sweating your ass off in that all goddamn night because suddenly it's 81 degrees again. That's a little local LA weather humor.
So, do we even need to is there anybody listening to this who's never seen this movie? That surprises me because there have been numerous people that have asked when we're going to do this, especially once we started doing After Dark.
Yeah, this was always in the After Dark rotation, and it was going to be an After Dark movie for sure. And then I had this great idea. I put that in Dick Fingers. And not that I don't enjoy Brian De Palma movies, but when I showed marketing materials to some people, the reaction was, oh no. And I don't know. I don't think it's any worse than anyone else's theme month, everyone.
No. And I think unfortunately, with Brian De Palma at this point, people tend to focus on more of his losers and his winners, but he's actually made a lot of really great movies.
And he's made some bangers. And this, I would put it up there.
I would consider this a banger. I mean, yeah. Is it misogynistic? Yes, it's misogynistic.
Mm-hmm.
Although I would say this movie makes no one look good. Its protagonist is an ineffectual boob.
Mm-hmm.
He stumbles into this mystery because he's perceived correctly as a moron. So,
pegged from the start as an absolute idiot.
Right. So to get back to, I don't want to go, a beat by beat of the plot. So, what is Greg Henry's character's name, or at least the name he gives him?
Well, Sam Bouchard.
Sam. Right. Okay. So he passes himself off as a fellow actor, which doesn't really make. That's one of those things that when you try to think about how this murder plot works, doesn't actually make much sense, because everybody seems to know who he is, even though he is pretending to be an actor to find the perfect dupe for his plot. So when he goes up and introduces himself to this guy that's making small talk with Jake, the other guy's like, "Oh, hey, Sam." And it's like, okay, well, is he an actor or is he this rich guy that owns this spaceship house?
Right.
So that part doesn't, not that this is a otherwise watertight plot.
I don't know that he ever owned the spaceship house. Here's how the film gives no indication that this is the truth, but I will say that he's almost a dark reflection of Wasson's Jake Scully.
Yeah, he's confident. He looks pretty carefree.
Yeah.
You know, his now he doesn't claim to own the house. He says he is house sitting.
And I think he genuinely is. I think he's been kicked out of the house of his wife, Gloria, who owns that house and is rich when he is not. So he is subletting for a guy he knows in the neighborhood. And he cracks this idea by looking out of the windows of this crazy fucking house and seeing his old house and go, I really want to murder my wife, but how do I do it in such a way that someone will be a witness for me that I wasn't there?
Yeah, no, I guess that does make sense that he's kind of living off of her largesse. But so he masterfully pegs Jake as someone who needs a place to stay and doesn't have a whole much going on in his life because he's just been kicked out of his house. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to stop for a moment because I need to hear about this house, Patrick.
Okay. The house is technically referred to as the chemosphere. The reason for it was that the bonding materials used to create it did not exist. And so the architect ended up going to a local chemical manufacturer and called the ChemSeal Corporation and said, can you come up with a way to help me bond these materials? And as a reference to their help, it was called the chemosphere. It was designed on spec for a guy who had a small patch of land in the Hollywood Hills. He couldn't sell it because it was it's too steep and too small to build a real house on. So they created this house for what is reportedly around $140,000. It is a landmark in the Mulholland Drive area of the Hollywood Hills. You can't really see it from the road. It's kind of legendary in terms of people talking about it, but you don't really see it. It was used in a lot of fashion shoots for a long time. And then it's used here in Body Double, and its legend grows exponentially. And so it's now one of those things that's in the Los Angeles Conservatory. You can't, and every once in a while they open it up for people to see it, but it is so small that you can't easily get to it or see it in any other way. It literally has a funicular that takes you to the front door from the road.
So like nobody lives there currently or anything like that. It's just like
I believe someone does live there currently, or at least owns it currently. It's been used in a bunch of different things. Obviously, the biggest thing outside of Body Double for me on regular film would be in Charlie's Angels. It's used as an exterior, and then they created a different interior set on a set. But then the thing that I always remember it as is Troy McClure's house from The Simpsons, in an episode that is revealed the reason why he isn't a bigger Hollywood star is because he has a bad habit of fucking fish.
That's
the fisherman's secret.
That's when the house is basically being held up by rope or something, right?
Yes, I mean it goes downhill and downhill and downhill. I mean, the grand tragedy of the world that we no longer have Phil Hartman in it. I would love to have seen where they would have taken that character over the long haul, but of course we were denied that. It's one of those things where like they board up the windows and it's leaning to one side and there's a taut rope that he wheels back to kind of right it.
This guy Sam, who is Greg Henry, who shows up a lot in Brian De Palma's work. He's usually he likes to use him in a lot of things. So he kind of has that kind of sleazy kind of, he's always smiling kind of guy. So funny. I saw a Shakespeare in the Park a few years ago, production of Julius Caesar that was kind of modernized, and he was Julius Caesar, playing him very much like a Trump-like character. And he had to get naked every night for that show, and it was outside. I was impressed. I mean, not that kind of impressed. I was impressed that he was able to do that. But so like I said, all of this murder plot rides on his belief and being able to assess Jake immediately as, here's a local pervert who will not only indulge me in spying on my sexy neighbor, having a moment, let's say, some alone time, but will definitely come back and do it again the next night.
Yeah, we'll do it like a dinner bell's being rung.
Right, like he'll make a point of being home.
Right.
And not only will he watch this, he will become immediately obsessed with this woman and need to know more about her. And like, it's like, how do you figure all that out for like a 10-minute conversation? I mean, he's absolutely right, as it turns out.
He pegged it. Yes, he's competent. He sets about to go through all these machinations, and he almost gets away with it.
What I think is hilarious is how, when for reasons Sam dresses up like a Native American man, a construction worker or like an electrician or something, who
a member of the Village People, sure, the sleaziest member of the Village
who
People,
makes a point of the next night also watching this neighbor. Her name's Gloria, and that. But Jake is like appalled by this.
like this is my perv time. How are you honing in? Like, you should be welding. That's what you
like. He's just like, how dare you?
I mean, the audacity to peep on a woman through her own windows and invade her privacy. That's my job. I mean, Jesus Christ.
I feel like most men, if they caught another dude spying on the woman that they were spying on, it'd be like, oh, all right, I should probably stop. This is gross.
I see the error of my ways, and perhaps the best thing I can do is walk away from this.
But now he feels like protective of her, like a woman he has only seen like across and it isn't even actually her, as it'll turn out.
Yeah. Well, that leads us in to what I think is one of the great unifying ideas of this motion picture. And that is the facade. Now, as any good Universal Studios backlot tour guide like myself can tell you, a facade is a French word meaning false front. All film, and by extension television, is a faked reality given dramatic import through plot, story, and character, blah, 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 blah. Right? It's 3D life flattened to 2D. So to help transport an audience to places they can't ordinarily go, like inside a person's bedroom or inside, Dracula's castle. Those walls don't really exist. They're facades, and a facade can be inside and outside. But particularly facades are often referred to as outside changes to an existing building. It's an illusion, and Body Double may be De Palma's grandest illusion because it's all fake. Like, fake becomes the default for the entirety of the movie, in that Jake is an actor in quotes, but he's not really a good actor. Sam is not an actor. He's a murderer who dresses up as somebody who he isn't and then pretends to be someone he isn't on top of it. It's a facade on a facade. The woman that Jake is looking at and peeping on through a window he thinks is Gloria is actually a facade. It's Holly Body, Melanie Griffith's character. All these things are facades that are broken through and broken down to get to the real point of the film. The facade becomes the immediate focus of this movie once Jake walks out from the gig, the vampire gig, and you immediately see people walking facades across the studio lot in that very rote way. you're shown fake sunsets and subterranean graves and desert vistas and even the facade of Tail the pup. So all of it is about this faked reality that we're going to be watching. And it's reinforced over and over in the movie. This is definitely what De Palma wants us to focus on, is the illusion that we see and not what people feel on the inside. This is not a movie about emotions.
No.
It's about what we think we see.
Right. Exactly. Like I said, so Jake inexplicably becomes obsessed with this woman that he just seen, do her little sexy dance and then touch herself, because she does that odd schedule every night. She has her that's her relaxation. I've had a hard day at work. Let me come home and do my sexy
workout routine. Apparently.
Let me do my gyrating sexy dance. She lives alone. She wears like lingerie as one does. So he sees her. I guess this takes place over like a course of like 3 or 4 nights. He sees her that there's someone in her house. And she shows up and the person in her house smacks her around a little bit. Now that's the real Gloria.
Yes.
So, if you haven't seen this movie, you try to follow along as best as you can.
Try to follow along with this labyrinth, the stupid labyrinth of a plot.
Yeah, the gyrating, masturbating Gloria is not really Gloria. This is an actress that Sam has hired solely to because he knows that Jake is a weird little pervert and will watch her do her thing every night. Because I guess he has nothing better to do. So after she gets smacked around by this stranger in her house, which is as we will later learn is Sam, but for whatever reason, Jake is not able to see that.
Even though we can see it from a distance, but okay, sure.
Right. He's not able to, he does not recognize. Stupid. Yeah, he does not recognize for reasons. He decides that the best thing to do is to follow her around while she shops at a very high-end mall and to basically just be a creep.
A creep that Gozer the Gozerian calls security on. That's how creepy he's being.
Is that really her?
That's really her. She had 2 movies this year. She's Gozer the Gozerian and the panty salesman who calls the mall security.
Yeah, he really seems Jake Scully really seems to have an interesting, he thinks he's taking the higher ground here in that, he's appalled by this electrician spying on her. And then obviously he is a better man because he's not smacking her around, but he is spying on her while she's trying on and buying a single pair of underwear.
Right. She needed that one pair. That's the thing. You buy them on a need to wear basis,
which she inexplicably changes her mind about and just drops in the garbage. And then he plucks out of the garbage and puts it in his pocket like, dude, we know what you're going to do with that. You're fucking gross.
It's weird, man. It's weird. Do you think that's a fucking clue? This is the most Scooby-Doo ass shit I've ever seen in my life.
I think he is honestly looking for an in to approach her.
You put these in a garbage can, these panties you bought. That's not what a lady wants.
Yeah, but Patrick, he's a moron.
What? Jake Scully? The Jake Scully? He seems like a really stand-up smart guy.
Yeah, I honestly think he thinks he is keeping an eye on her. Like keeping her safe.
Yes, he absolutely is under the delusion that the only thing standing between her and certain death is him. And how well does that go for both her and Jake fucking Scully?
So she gets her purse snatched again. It's the electrician, the Native American who is actually Sam.
Yeah.
Because we find out later that he has stolen her key card so that he can get into her house. Now, I don't know how he got into her house the previous night, but be that as it may, that's neither here nor there. Logic is not this movie's strong suit.
It really isn't.
But and again, Jake and Gloria, have this passionate tussle, which again, I am of the mindset that does not actually happen. And then he returns home and then proceeds to see her get murdered. He attempts poorly to save her. He, rather than calling the police, he finds a couple of dudes in matching jogging suits to help him, break into the house instead of calling the police.
The same brand of jogging suit as the one guy who gets gunned down in The Fury.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So I do recall when this movie came out, maybe it might have been Siskel, but I do know that the actual murder scene, there was a pearl clutching over it.
A lot of pearl clutching.
Yeah, yes. Because I mean, to a modern standpoint, it's not that bad. Like you it's more implied what happens, right. And then like you get Jake's viewpoint, you see the drill coming through the ceiling and like blood pours out. Yes, but like you don't actually see it going into her stomach.
It's a magic trick. You're not seeing Friday the 13th levels of gore,
right? Like these days, it could be shown on regular television and not be cut.
Right? Yes. My kid is now watching The Walking Dead, and far and away.
Oh my God, Walking Dead's insane. But a lot of, I think, again, because of the symbolism and because it feels very rapey, there was some offense taken, understandably, at the way the scene was framed. Shockingly, Jake only gets the stink eye from the detective on the case.
Well, he's constantly put down. He's like, "Hey, you're a little perv. You're
which he is
with her panties."
Which he is.
Yeah, nothing that really dispute it. It's like
nothing this detective says to him is wrong.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather you not mention this to my mom and everything, but I think the bigger problem here is a woman's been murdered, and I witnessed it, and I want you to take it seriously. And you know that I couldn't murder her because you have two witnesses seeing me being attacked by a dog when a giant hole was drilled into her on the floor above me.
Also, I couldn't do it because I'm a fucking moron.
Yeah, I couldn't save her. You're telling me I'm more successful a murderer? Get a fucking grip. Like, you've pegged me from the start. Again, everyone who meets him is like, this fucking idiot, and they're all right.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't. We only get to see. I don't think she even has any dialogue. Barbara Crampton's character in the one scene. Like she's like a naked boob delivery device.
Yeah.
No shade on Barbara Crampton. We all got to start somewhere, but like her character really isn't all that. It's really not important to the plot. But
she was hired to show up topless and go, oh, and end of scene, because the movie is not about her. It's about this fucking idiot.
Right. But I would love to know, like, why she kept him around. Like maybe he was a good cook or something. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't helping with the rent on that apartment. You know that.
No, he barely had enough money to pay for his chili dogs that he brought home to her.
Softcore punk rock vampire porn does not pay very well. So Jake is now very sad because the lady he probably masturbated over several times is dead, and he wasn't able to save her.
As we're all sad when the women we masturbate over die.
So he's decides, well, I think I'll relax and watch a little pornography.
As you do.
As you do when you just see somebody horrifically murdered.
Something to take the edge off.
And he's watching and he's like, say, I recognize that butt. And when I tell you, I am not joking. If you've never seen this movie, like his the bolt that goes over his head goes on over his head is Melanie Griffith's butt. In this scene, remember in Manhunter, when William S. Peterson figures out that the Tooth Fairy has watched the home videos of the families before because that's how he knows how the house is laid out, that they have pets and all, and just kind of the realization kind of dawns over him, and it's a really powerful moment. This is like that, but with a butt.
It's a real Sherlock Holmes aha moment via butt.
Because like he sees Melanie Griffith, like she has, this kind of like, punk rock haircut. Like she doesn't look like Gloria.
She looks like a Billy Idol.
Right. And she's just doing her little butt thing. And like, he's like,
I've seen that gyration before. I've seen that butt gyration pattern before. So he immediately runs down to Tower Video in the middle of the fucking night and says, "Do you have this porn video?" And they're like, "Sure. I've got it on VHS beta, 3/4, ½ inch." No one is watching porn on ½ inch. It's what I used to use when I worked at Fox to watch episodes of 24. Like, that is industrial grade. This is what I broadcast from video. You're not getting Holly Does Hollywood on ½ inch or 3/4 videotape. That's insane. You might as well ask for it on Laserdisc.
And whereas most people will be like, "This is insane. I'm not going to do this," he seeks her out.
Yeah, and he's like, this will solve all the problems.
It's like, so tell me about your little butt dance that you do.
Yeah, the game is afoot. Let me figure out a way to get near you, which is to enter into a porn shoot, wander through a Frankie Goes to Hollywood music video, and enter a curtain labeled slut.
I love it. The set design in the scene is so choice. I love it.
It is incredibly cheap and very obvious, but perfect for the motion picture.
And he stumbles into having sex with this woman in front of a film crew.
Well, and I don't think it stumbled. He auditioned for the role,
and of course got it because bastion of manhood, Jake Scully.
Right, because someone like he could not crawl out of a hole that was opened a quarter all the way across his body, but he can definitely enter her hole when cameras are rolling. And we have been told up to this point that, and I'm going to steal from Friday the 13th part 4, you get the feeling that Jake Scully is a dead fuck. And
that he decides for reasons that he has to put on he has to disguise himself.
Yeah. He has to put on a show
when approaching her, even though they've just had sex about 7 minutes ago.
Yeah. He's like, "Let's go out for a drink. I'm going to pretend to be a porn
I'm
producer.
a completely
I'm going to lie to you for 20 minutes.
We've
straight.
Just had sex standing up, looking each other dead in the face.
Right.
But
the most uncinematic porn sex of all time.
I have slicked my hair back and now you don't recognize me.
Don't you want to watch this video? It's of a guy with a sweater on and his pants down, humping the hottest woman ever where you can't see her body. Porn. And after that, he's like, "Well, that's not going to work as an entree. I better pretend to be a porn producer and lie to her and get her back to my place and then stop lying to her." And then I'm like, "Hey, why are you trying to leave? I've just been lying to you for half the fucking night.
I've just told you this insane story.
And why don't you believe this? Granted, I spent a lot of this evening lying to you, but this is the truth." And she's like, "What the fuck is going on? You're weird. You're a total perv."
Yeah, she's got that Melanie Griffith baby voice like turned up to like 11. I think this might have been the first thing I ever saw her in.
Yes, because I had obviously not seen Roar yet. A movie we'll have to cover one day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's definitely we should when animal attack movies go wrong.
right, who's legitimately hurt on the set of Roar, and here, appears for the last half hour of the motion.
Yeah, when I prepared for this, I actually watched this a couple of weeks ago. It was the first time I had seen it in probably at least 2 decades, and I forgot she's not actually in it that much.
Right? No, she is not.
Yeah, she's backloaded to the last half hour. It is. I regret to inform you, this is a 95% Jake Scully or Craig Wasson looking confused.
Yeah, this movie is like, I hope you are ready, because you're going to see the most Craig Wasson you've ever seen when he's not falling out of a window naked on a green screen in Ghost Story.
Yeah, he does not have a nude scene, thank God. And in fact,
I mean, it's the only thing missing. And he's willing to drop dick. That's the thing. He drops dick in Ghost Story,
for being an actor mostly in softcore porn, like he stays clothed most of the time. I mean, I don't mind that at all, but I just think that's an amusing choice.
He doesn't owe me anything, but it is weird that he's like, Ghost Story, gotta show off the wiener.
This one here, it's like
I'm not even gonna take off my shirt.
It's like I'm having sex with Melanie Griffith in her prime. Let me leave my sweater vest on.
Yeah, I got 2-3 layers on. That will help, angle up the sexiness level here. It is so bizarre. It just, you can't track the decision making, because obviously everything is very intentional. There's not a lot of unintentional happening here, but also the intention is bug fucking nuts, Gina.
It is, and I love it so much. It is a ride.
And then the final, he tries to convince Holly that, she was the body double. She danced in the window for him. It was this prank, but you got to tell me, this guy who's on the phone and calling me right now, was he the person who hired you? And she says, yes. And he's like, great. And she's like, I'm fucking out of here. And of course she goes down, witnesses a car crash, or even kind of causes one. Not too sure about that one. That's left up to interpretation. But of course, the one person who pulls over to pick her up on the side of the road is the murderer in full indigenous brown face. He looks like Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, this is like a whole, again, don't spend even 11 seconds thinking about this plot, because none of it makes sense. I guess he somehow knew that Jake brought Holly back to the house. I don't know why he felt he had to put on this extremely elaborate disguise. Yeah. It's not even makeup. It is like a full blown like rubber appliance over his face.
He has a fake chest, Jenna. He looks like he's auditioning for Khan in The Wrath of Khan. And has decided to go with gold teeth as an adornment. It is wacko. He never changes his costume. He's only got one getup. And I don't know if this is like a jab at people who are like, hey, when you have a movie full of Cuban American characters, perhaps, I don't know, cast one. And he's like, nah, Italians from, it's just Italians all the way down.
What are you kidding me? I cast noted Cuban American actor Robert Loggia. and his Cubano brother F. Murray Abraham.
There's no one more Cuban than F. Murray Abraham. So I don't know if that is a legitimate, jab from him. I don't know.
It could be, because this wouldn't be the obviously be the first movie that has a white actor in playing disguising themselves for nefarious purposes as a non-white person. So
no, not at all.
Right.
I mean, and I might add, not even the first person to do it that we've covered on the show. We have talked about Prophecy and Nightwing, for Christ's sake.
Right. Yeah, no, it's again, I feel whatever, criticisms this movie has, I feel a lot of it is, a lot of choices are extremely deliberate.
Yes. No, it was designed to do what it's doing. It is legitimately mixing Rear Window with Vertigo, which is not a small feat. That you're mixing a lot of machinations to make Rear Window and Vertigo fit into the same movie.
Right. And then just, throwing in some masturbation.
Yeah. And I will add, now, just thinking about it, I feel like the finale sequence by the canal there, the runoff from the dam, that is his riff on North by Northwest.
Right.
The end of North by Northwest.
And I love that. And I love that sequence. I love how, he's in the grave, and like from his perspective, it keeps getting like further, things start getting further and further away. And I just think that's really cool.
Yes. Again, this movie visually is an absolute feast. And I think it can really only be talked about in that sense that visually, this is a real well shot motion picture. It just all works on pure cinema. And the moment, as you said, you ever try to even think about how any part of this makes any fucking sense, why no one mentions the fact that this attack dog that nearly rips Jake's throat out did not ever attempt to do the same thing to the murderer who killed a woman in this house, but he chose to go after Jake.
No, they explain that. They explained that the dog recognized him, that the dog even disguised recognized that was Sam.
Yes. But at the end, Jake doesn't bring this up to the fucking cops ever. He realizes that when he has to rescue Holly from being buried alive.
Well, yeah.
And again, he has tools to murder her instantly and chooses a live burial. That is a lot of fucking work to dig out a gigantic grave for her and the time it takes for Jake to finally show up. And it's like, listen, I could smash her head in with a shovel, but I've chosen to simply bury her alive.
I'm going to drag this out as long as I can.
Why? Why do this? Why would anyone do this? No rational person would ever think to do this. And yet you don't come to Body Double for rational behavior.
No.
And I just like, we've talked about it, but I just want to reinforce it. The only reason any of this happens is because Jake is completely fucking stupid. Like, his struggles may begin as weakness, but they progress to like willful stupidity.
Yes.
Towards the end.
He wants desperately to be the hero.
Yes.
And he's just simply too incompetent.
And really is almost barely a hero. I would say he causes more harm than he does.
He does. I don't want to say that if he had never got tangled up with Gloria that she would have been fine. She probably wouldn't have been.
No.
But like, there was no reason for you to get involved in this, Jake. There was no reason for you to get involved in this. Like, I don't even understand the whole mindset behind, taking his entire day to follow her around.
The only reason he's doing it is because the plot demands it.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But ultimately he's the Hitchcockian hero. Like, he's in many respects the perfect patsy, like what separates him from, let's say, Jeff in Rear Window or Roger in North by Northwest. Like, those characters all have these quirks that make them vulnerable to the paranoid machinations of the villains in those films, and they get caught up in it. But I don't think Jeff or Roger or anyone in any of the other Hitchcock films are this rock stupid.
No.
And Jeff is very, very stupid. And he's portrayed by an actor that everyone, the studio, the producers, the writers, the director are convinced this is the guy who can convey stupidity. And they ring up Craig Wasson. Like we got the role for you, baby.
Yeah, he does confuse very well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't even buy I don't even buy he's particularly turned on by watching Holly do her little dance. He just seems more perplexed than anything else.
We can't believe it's happening, that he has a front row seat to it. It's just wild that this is going on in front of him.
It's just, yeah. I mean, he like I said, Sam is very smart. He had him pegged perfectly in like the 2 hours or so the conversation they made with each other.
Yeah. And he's picked specifically because he's quote unquote afraid to act. And that's one of those things where it's obviously at first you're wondering, is this intentional? But as we've said, like, I think everything here is intentional. And I think a major undercurrent of Body Double is that Jake is simply afraid to act in any way, shape, or form. He's afraid to act on camera. He's afraid to act off camera. That's the reason why he's chosen. He's trapped within his fear of failure. And that's the fatal flaw that's exploited by our villain. When it starts very early, like he's afraid to get out of that stupid grave. He's afraid to say anything when he finds his partner sleeping with somebody else. When Jake and Sam are back at Barney's Beanery, Sam asks him about his separation from his partner. And it takes a full minute for him to say, she was sleeping with some other guy. Can you believe it? And then the villain asks a very crucial question that Jake cannot answer. He says, you had no idea? And that's when he knows he's picked the right person.
It's like, oh, you're really stupid.
You are so fucking dumb. You are oblivious. You're perfect. But weirdly enough, we're kind of doing this in a weird order just due to timing and whatnot. This was the one movie that we knew we were going to talk long on. We didn't have enough time, blah, 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 blah. But it's weird to talk about this after discussing the Black Dahlia, which we did on Patreon, where we were like, let's watch an unsuccessful Brian De Palma movie.
Yeah, well, I think we chose really well because we went with probably his most famous movie, which was Carrie. And Carrie is, I mean, there are little, De Palmian tricks in it, but it's a pretty straightforward horror movie.
It's delivered in his manner. I mean, it's not like Carrie's his first go.
No. But like
he's been doing it for a while. It's a very De Palma movie.
But there are considerably less De Palma bells and whistles than there would be later. And then you've got The Fury, which, feels like a companion to Carrie, but is a little bit more leaning toward like a political thriller.
Right. It's more of a companion to Blowout.
Right. And those are both, pretty unimpeachable movies. They're both very well done movies. And then you've got, he's got some failures under his belt. And so then you get to Body Double, which is him, having a lark. He's like, well, my last couple movies have been failures. I might as well go ahead and do whatever the fuck I want.
And this is him lashing out. It's like, oh, you dummies want this Hitchcock thriller from me over and over and over again. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the sleaziest possible version of it with the intention of getting an X. My goal here is to literally make an adult movie. I don't want you to ever confuse this as pulp entertainment that the whole family can enjoy. Not that Dress to Kill is. But it is weird to me to compare Sam and Jake in this movie to Mr. Ice and Mr. Fire in Black Dahlia, where Mr. Ice can't act either, despite being a cop who constantly punches people in the face.
Yeah, no, obviously Sam and Jake are supposed to be kind of, the yin to each other's yang, where Sam is confident, he's very smooth. I don't get the sense that he's posing, he's flying off to go do live theater somewhere. The gist is he's more successful at everything than Jake, where
he's more successful at acting because he has acted proactively.
Right. I think that, he is everything Jake would like to be.
Yeah. With the exception of someone who beats his wife.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't know that about Sam at that point. Yes. As far as he knows, Sam's still out of town doing summer stock or whatever the hell he was supposed to be doing. But where Mr. Fire, Mr. Ice, Jesus fucking Christ. Is this gonna go?
That staircase sequence in that movie, it is riffing off of Dress to Kill by having a female villain dressed up as a guy kill somebody with a switchblade. It's like, oh, okay, that's Dress to Kill. And the other component that he's riffing off of is the body double of here's a guy who refuses to do anything and suffers the consequences, and here's a guy who does everything and ends up dead.
Yeah, but you know what? Also, as far as the body double thing is, I buy that he could confuse Melanie Griffith for Deborah Shelton, from I don't know, several hundred meters away. Because he's looking at her through like filmy curtains. She's wearing a wig. She's making sure to keep her back to the window so he can't actually see her face.
It's one of the reasons he recognizes the butt,
right? Because she is just basically wiggling her butt at him. Whereas so much of the mystery in the Black Dahlia and those of you who listen to it, this will go up after or before that one?
It goes up after.
Okay, because I apologize for the ranting, but that bit where the mystery hinging on people thinking that Hilary Swank and Mia Kirshner look exactly alike because they have the same hair color is I don't buy that for a millisecond. I more or less buy it here.
Yeah, it's insanity that people buy it in any way, shape, or form.
Because I buy it because he has not actually seen Gloria naked. So he actually has nothing to compare their bodies to.
Right.
He's not seen her face until until encountering her at the shopping mall. So I get that is possible. And again, also he's a moron.
Yeah. That's the other part that we cannot underline.
And that mystery aspect only has to fool one person who is established as an idiot. Whereas in Black Dahlia, it is numerous characters who are just absolutely gobsmacked at how much these two characters supposedly look exactly like each other.
And they don't.
No.
Really, really don't. Don't have the same face shape. No, don't have the same mouth, eye, nose.
They are the same body shape. They literally just have the same hair color. That's it.
Are different heights. Just everything about them, with the exception of a black wig, and even their hair is different. They are not twins. No. By any stretch.
This is not, I don't buy for a second that, this guy did pervert things to this girl because she reminded him of his his illegitimate daughter or something. And it's like, no.
That movie it's just, that's where it goes wrong. And none of it is intentional, even though the fact that it's coming from a book, but an incomprehensible labyrinthian book that no one could break and was intended to be an 8-hour miniseries that they edited down to 2 hours. They're like, this is going to make sense. And it doesn't for a number of reasons. But I would encourage everyone to listen to that episode on Patreon because it is very funny, us trying to figure it out. Whereas this movie is incomprehensible, but ultimately it's about incomprehensibility. Like that is literally one of the big points here is that things aren't what they seem.
Right. Exactly.
Up until the point where the end credits occur over a body double scene in the shower and like how he got his fucking job back and why is this director actually happy about this performance? None of it seems to make a decent lick of sense. Why Dennis Franz is like, I'm glad I fired that other guy. Why? You ended up with Craig Wasson. Again, Craig Wasson could be a very nice gentleman. We just don't like him on screen. This is nothing against him as an individual.
He is like
to the best of our knowledge, is just a nice guy.
He's just a charisma void is the problem.
Oh my God, yes.
But yeah, like you know, I have trouble buying that he is an actor in high demand for these low budget horror booby horror films. Like I feel like particularly in the 80s, those actors willing to do movies like that would be a dime a dozen.
Yeah. Yes, and I don't think he costs a dime. I don't also think he costs a nickel. I'm gonna put that out there. So in terms of choosing your own death venture, it's pretty limited. This is not a death-filled film.
No, you got murder by dick metaphor, and then you've got you pushed into a canal and presumably drowned.
Presumably, your head hit cement and you probably drowned.
But that poor good.
Happened to that poor
I was going to say that poor good boy. I hope he was able to get out.
He was only doing what he was asked to do. Maybe the guy in the car crash, person in the car crash does. We don't really know.
We don't see that. Yeah.
We don't see that. So if you were going to choose the way you were to die based on the deaths in this motion picture, which one would it be and why, Gina? I think on a cinematic level, the death by dick metaphor is pretty cool. I don't think I want to go that way.
No
one would.
No, so I'm going to take Pushed into a Canal by a Good Boy. Also, I just think Sam's having a good time, and I think he was having a good time up until the point the dog pushed him into the canal. So I want to go out like that. I think.
Yeah, my guess is his head hits cement and he doesn't really realize he's drowning. So it really is the way to go ultimately. But when it comes to the way to go for Kill by Kill, it's pretty simple. First off, we have a Patreon. If you haven't joined, you should really consider it. Lots of cool stuff happening over there. Rate and review us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. It will help us be seen and heard by more people. Of course, Josh Hollis does all of our artwork. And go to RevengeBodyMemphis at Bandcamp.com for this theme and all of our other remixes. Reach out to us at your socials of choice, with the exception of Twitter. Fuck that place. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net. I have a Substack, GinaWatchesThings.substack.com. I am on most social medias under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. As far as what we got coming up, good thing is they're already recorded it in the can, baby. Next week, we will be talking about one of those movies that everyone was talking about for a little while for various reasons. Many of them good, one of them bad. It's called Late Night with the Devil. It is currently available for rent or purchase, and if you have Shudder, it's on there. And it's a good movie. You should watch it. What's happening after that? Why, it's a little tween vampire lady who dances little ballets, and then she bites people's necks off. It's a little thing called Abigail. That's right. 2 new release movies in a row coming your way. Both of them are going to be big episodes, and you're going to want to listen to it. So don't worry, folks. The body count will continue for myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.